Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're diving into a concept that's, well, often misunderstood, often just dismissed as simply eating too much. But as we were digging into the sources for this deep dive, it became really clear that gluttony is far more complex, subtle, and actually incredibly pervasive in modern life than most of us probably realize.
Yeah, what's fascinating here, I think, is how the traditional understanding of gluttony, rooted really deeply in ancient texts, it translates almost perfectly and sometimes surprisingly to our present-day behaviors. And it goes well beyond just food and drink.
Exactly. So our mission today is really to pull out the most important nuggets from these articles and research. We want to help you understand how gluttony kind of subtly builds up in daily life, its surprising consequences, and, well, what it truly means to grapple with excess in a world that often encourages it.
Right.
You might find yourself recognizing some of these patterns in your own life as we go.
It's very likely.
So let's start with the core definition then. Traditionally, gluttony is described as, the excessive or unrestrained consumption. Food, drink, other resources. Beyond what's truly necessary for sustenance or well-being. It's not just about, say, that occasional second slice of pizza.
Precisely. It's more of a deeper disposition, really. It's seeking gratification through excess. And what's important to grasp is that this pursuit of more often comes at the expense of moderation or gratitude or even just good stewardship of what we've been given. In a biblical sense, it reflects a heart that's prioritizing those fleeting physical pleasures over spiritual discipline and, well, trust in what's truly provided.
And this is where it really gets interesting, I think.
Yeah.
Because when we apply that ancient concept to our modern context, gluttony stretches far, far beyond just food.
Absolutely.
Our sources show us we're talking about the overconsumption of material goods, like hoarding or just excessive shopping.
Right. Consumerism.
Yeah. And it's also about time. Maybe neglecting responsibilities for endless entertainment or even digital content that ceaseless scrolling on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, or, binge watching shows for hours and hours.
That's exactly right. The underlying principle is the same. It's an unrestrained desire for more than is needed, whatever the medium is. It's really about a lack of contentment.
So, okay, given that pretty broad definition, how does this subtle creep of gluttony actually build up in our daily lives? Does it just hit you one day, or is it more insidious?
That's the key point. It rarely starts with some grand indulgence. It's often this, subtle creep built through seemingly harmless actions or even inactions that just compound over time.
Like what kinds of action?
Well, think about those small things. Maybe accepting second or third helpings at family dinners, even when you know you're already full just because the food is there or it feels socially expected.
Or comfort eating?
Or turning to an entire pint of ice cream for comfort when you're stressed or bored. That's a classic one.
I think many of us can relate to that. Or even, that routine daily latte and pastry, it starts small. But what's the danger there?
Well, the danger lies in the consistency and how it kind of blurs the line between a treat and something you feel you need. It's those small, often unconscious choices that compound.
So like choosing fast food all the time.
Yeah, consistently choosing fast food for convenience over preparing balanced meals, prioritizing taste and speed over actual health. These are small choices that become a routine, and that's really how a pattern of gluttony can start to take hold.
And you mentioned inactions too, so it's not just what we do, but also what we don't do.
Exactly. Neglecting portion control, maybe eating directly from a bag of chips without really thinking about it, or ignoring clear health signals like weight gain or fatigue from a poor diet.
Yeah, ignoring the signs.
Absolutely. Or avoiding planning meals in advance, which then leads to impulsive takeout orders multiple times a week. And a really significant one, failing to practice gratitude for, modest provisions, that can foster this mindset of constantly wanting more or better.
Plus, neglecting things like exercise or rest often leads to stress eating or fatigue-driven binging, which just perpetuates the whole cycle.
Okay, and then there are these behaviors that are almost unknowing or just deeply habitual, maybe, like mindless snacking.
Definitely. Mindless snacking is huge. Eating while distracted, like munching during a Netflix marathon or while scrolling through social media or gaming.
Yeah, you don't even realize how much you're consuming.
Precisely. And this extends to how cultural norms play a part too. where supersized portions at restaurants or those all-you-can-eat buffets become standard, subtly normalizing excess. It's an environment that almost encourages us to ignore our body's true needs.
It's like when we develop a routine indulgence, right? Always having dessert after meals or drinking multiple sodas daily without ever stopping to question if they're actually necessary.
Exactly. It all points to the same underlying pattern. And as we said earlier, this digital gluttony of spending excessive time consuming media, it really mirrors that same lack of restraint we see in other areas. Okay, we've talked about the definitions, this subtle creep, but where do we actually see gluttony manifesting in the everyday lives of people right now? Let's maybe bring this to life with some scenarios.
Sure. Consider someone like Sarah, maybe a 35-year-old accountant. She's facing tight deadlines, constantly ordering takeout, eating large portions while trying to catch up on emails or maybe scrolling through X posts.
Okay.
Over time, this stress eating leads to weight gain, low energy, reduced focus at work, and maybe it ultimately causes her to miss out on a promotion she wanted.
Wow. Or Michael, the college student you mentioned, spending hours scrolling through X, YouTube, TikTok, consuming content far beyond what's necessary.
Right. This digital gluttony eats into his study time, leads to poor grades, maybe strains his relationships because he's always distracted. It's that constant chase for the next dopamine hit from content.
Then there's Rachel, maybe the consumer shopper. She frequently buys more clothes or gadgets than she actually needs, lured by online sales or influencer posts on, say, X.
And her closet overflows, yet she feels unfulfilled, right? And maybe her credit card debt grows, limiting her financial freedom in the long run.
And John, the buffet enthusiast. We've all seen this, maybe even done it. At a family reunion, he repeatedly fills his plate, not really because he's hungry, but to get his money's worth.
Yeah, that mentality. And it leads to discomfort, sluggishness, probably regret later, impacting his ability to actually enjoy the event and connect with his family.
We even see it in everyday emotional eating. Think of another Sarah, maybe a college student this time, who turns to chocolate and junk food during finals just to ease her anxiety.
Right. And the temporary comfort, it leads to health setbacks, fatigue, affecting her grades, and maybe even her confidence.
Or Mark, for instance, maybe he binge eats while gaming or scrolling social media late at night. His night stretched to 2 a.m.
Yeah, leading to weight gain, poor performance at work the next day, maybe even a kind of spiritual dryness because he's just filling himself with noise. It truly impacts every single area of life.
And our sources highlight how even, cultural and Christian celebrations like holidays or church potlucks can sometimes inadvertently glorify abundance more than modesty and gratitude.
It's true. They can subtly end up endorsing a gluttonous mindset without us even realizing it, focusing so much on the feast itself.
This really takes us directly to the biblical context then. Scripture repeatedly addresses gluttony, often framing it as a manifestation of deeper spiritual issues. What's the core message the Bible is trying to convey about this?
Well, at its heart, it's often seen as a form of idolatry, really. Idolatry of the flesh. It signifies a profound lack of self-control, where our own desires and appetites take precedence over devotion to God. It's a powerful warning about misplaced priorities.
So that Philippians verse, their God is their belly, that's a pretty stark warning about where we place our ultimate devotion, isn't it?
It really is. It's showing us that when our physical appetites become central, they actually displace spiritual truth. It's about making physical appetites the very center of one's life, which, as the Bible puts it, is like worshiping a false god.
Wow.
The profound insight there is to prioritize spiritual fulfillment over those temporary, fleeting pleasures.
And then there's that story in Numbers 11 where the Israelites complained about God's provision of manna. They craved meat instead. God sent quail, but their gluttonous indulgence led to a plague. What does that teach us?
It's such a powerful illustration. It wasn't just about their hunger, it was a profound dissatisfaction with what God had already provided. This story vividly shows that dissatisfaction and the resulting excess leads to both spiritual and physical harm. It's a clear warning about the consequences of ingratitude.
And Proverbs 23.20:21, it doesn't really pull any punches, does it?
Yeah.
Be not among drunkards or among gluttonous eaters of meat, for the drunkard and the glutton will come to poverty, and slumber will clothe them with rags. That verse highlights some very practical consequences.
It absolutely does. It zeroes in on the practical outcomes like financial ruin and a significant loss of discipline. Excess in any form truly erodes one's resources and character over time. It makes you sluggish, unproductive.
And 1 Corinthians 6.19-20 reminds us, or do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit within you? So glorify God in your body. This sounds like it's emphasizing stewardship, showing our physical bodies have a sacred purpose.
That's precisely it. This passage emphasizes stewardship of the body. It suggests that gluttony actually dishonors God by neglecting the body's sacred purpose. It's a profound call to treat the body with care, really as an act of worship.
And Luke 12.15, while it's directly addressing greed, seems to have a strong overlap. Take care and be on your guard against all covetousness, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions.
Yeah, it applies directly to gluttony's desire for more, doesn't it? Teaching that true life, real fulfillment, is found in spiritual richness, not in just having excess stuff or consuming excessively.
It's a universal principle, then.
It seems to be. Our sources even mention Titus 1.12, noting ancient Crete's reputation for gluttony, which just underscores that this is a cross-cultural, timeless human struggle, not something new.
So pulling it all together for the overarching message from all these biblical contexts, what's the central takeaway for us about gluttony?
Well, it seems clear that gluttony stems from a heart seeking fulfillment in temporary earthly pleasures rather than in God's provision and purpose. It reflects ingratitude, a significant lack of self-control, and just misplaced priorities.
Yeah.
And these things lead to profound spiritual and physical consequences. The Bible consistently calls for moderation, for gratitude, and good stewardship, urging us to find contentment in God rather than in endless excess.
Okay, so we've seen how it builds up, seen the biblical view. Let's talk about the consequences now, the far-reaching effects. You said it ripples across multiple dimensions.
Yes, absolutely. When we connect this to the bigger picture, gluttony's effects ripple across your physical, emotional, financial, spiritual, and even social dimensions of life. It's far more than just, a stomachache after a big meal.
Absolutely. Physically, it's not just obesity, right? We're talking diabetes, heart disease, chronic fatigue, all things that seriously reduce quality of life.
Right. Consistent overindulgence in, say, sugary drinks, for example, can lead to insulin resistance over time, or even a lowered immune response, making you more susceptible to illness.
And the emotional toll, that seems huge too.
It really is. Gluttony often masks deeper issues like stress, loneliness, maybe guilt, or spiritual emptiness. Binge eating after a breakup might feel like it helps temporarily, but it ultimately worsens emotional health, often creating this cycle of guilt and shame.
Yeah, that cycle.
And it can even dull our sensitivity to God's voice, making it harder to discern what's truly nourishing for our soul.
And the financial strain. That's incredibly real for many people. Overspending on food, drinks, unnecessary purchases, frequent takeout. Those delivery apps, impulse buys online, maybe even supplements or remedies bought in excess.
It all adds up. It can lead to debt or significant financial instability. And that's not even counting the potential medical bills down the road from preventable health conditions linked to these habits.
Right. Then spiritually.
Spiritually, by constantly prioritizing physical desires, gluttony naturally distances one from God. It fosters ingratitude, it weakens spiritual discipline, it inflames our cravings, and it just dulls our sensitivity to God's actual provision in our lives.
And finally, the social and professional impact. Reduced energy or focus due to these gluttonous habits can seriously hinder relationships or career growth, like that example of Sarah missing the promotion.
Exactly. Missed opportunities that stem from low productivity or even poor self-image connected to these habits. It's a really pervasive issue.
Okay, now let's tackle some common questions that tend to arise when we talk about gluttony. First one, probably the most common, is gluttony really just about food?
No, not at all. As we've discussed, it extends to any excessive consumption. That includes material goods, time, media. Binge-watching shows for a whole weekend or hoarding possessions can absolutely reflect gluttonous tendencies.
So it's the underlying pattern.
Precisely. Biblically, it's always been about prioritizing our appetites, whatever they are, over God. Philippians 3.19 makes that pretty clear.
So how can someone listening truly tell if they're being gluttonous? What are some practical indicators they can look for?
Well, you can ask yourself a few key questions. Are you consuming beyond what you genuinely need? Do you often feel guilt or physical discomfort afterward? Are you neglecting your health, your finances, or your relationships for the sake of this excess?
Mm-hmm.
Habitual overindulgence or consistent lack of moderation, that's a clear indicator. It's really about that recurring pattern, not just a one-off event.
That makes perfect sense.
Okay.
What's the difference then between simply enjoying food, because we all love a good meal, right, and actual gluttony?
Of course, and enjoying food is good. Enjoying food with gratitude and in moderation is absolutely not gluttony. The Bible celebrates food as a gift from God.
Right.
Gluttony, though, involves excess without restraint or real purpose. It's often driven by emotional triggers or habitual impulses rather than genuine need or appreciation. Remember 1 Corinthians 10:31. So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do all to the glory of God. It's about the how and the why behind our consumption.
And how does gluttony relate to modern consumerism? You touched on this earlier, but it seems like consumer culture is almost built on encouraging this desire for more.
It really does. Modern consumerism, heavily fueled by advertising and social media, like X posts promoting luxury goods or the latest gadget, it actively encourages overconsumption. It perfectly mirrors gluttony's core desire for more.
So buying stuff we don't need.
Yeah, buying unnecessary items or constantly chasing the latest trends reflects the very same lack of contentment that Scripture warns against, like in Luke 12:15 about life not consisting in the abundance of possessions.
Is fasting then the opposite of gluttony? Is that the solution?
Well, fasting is a powerful spiritual discipline. It definitely teaches self-control, it reinforces dependency on God, and it can help reset both the body and the mind from cycles of excess. So, while maybe not its direct opposite in a simple sense, it is certainly a potent remedy to gluttony.
How so?
It trains the will to resist those cravings and helps us realign with God's provision, reminding us where our true sustenance comes from.
Okay. And what if someone listening really struggles with emotional eating? It's such a common issue, and it can feel really overwhelming and shameful sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And the first thing to know is that God is compassionate and desires healing, real healing at the root of the issue. It's important to seek wise counsel, maybe find community support, and definitely lean into prayer.
So it's not just about stopping the behavior.
Exactly. The goal isn't just behavior change, but a deeper heart transformation. Like Romans 12:12 talks about the renewing of your mind. It's about addressing the underlying emotional or spiritual needs, not just treating the symptom of overeating.
Okay, so knowing all this, the definition, the creep, the consequences, the spiritual dimension, what are some practical steps you can actually take, starting today, to combat gluttony in daily life?
Yeah.
Where do we begin?
A great starting point is simply mindful eating. Using smaller plates can help, chewing slowly, really tasting the food, and aiming to stop eating when you feel satisfied, not stuffed. It's about tuning back into your body's signals.
That takes practice. What else? Budgeting, maybe?
Yes, budget your resources. Set clear limits, not just on food spending, but maybe also on entertainment or shopping expenses to avoid that impulsive overspending. Try to simplify your life where you can and shop intentionally, really thinking about what you truly need versus what you merely desire in the moment.
And those emotional triggers we talked about.
It's crucial to address those head on. Instead of automatically turning to food or purchases for comfort, actively seek out healthier coping mechanisms. That might be counseling, prayer, talking with supportive friends or community members. Journaling and inviting God into those emotional wounds can be incredibly helpful for genuine healing.
And the digital side, limiting screen time.
Definitely. Set concrete boundaries on media consumption. Maybe decide beforehand just one episode of a show instead of automatically binge watching, or set a timer for social media use. This frees up valuable time for more meaningful activities and being present in your actual life.
Practicing gratitude seems key too.
Immensely key. Practice gratitude daily. Take a moment to reflect on God's provisions, big and small. Philippians 4:11-12 is a great guide here. I have learned in whatever situation I am to be content. Praying before you eat, consciously recognizing food as provision, not just entertainment or comfort, can shift your perspective.
What about boundaries around eating itself?
Yeah, setting clear boundaries around your eating habits can help. Maybe scheduling meals and trying to avoid mindless snacking between them. Eating with others, when possible, can also provide valuable accountability and help regulate portions naturally.
And you mentioned fasting earlier as a remedy.
Yes, finally, consider creating rhythms of fasting, if appropriate for your health. Even simple weekly or monthly fasts, perhaps just partial ones like skipping a meal or fasting from media, can significantly help to train your will and cultivate self-control. It's a powerful way to remind ourselves of our dependence on God, not on consumption.
Wow. Okay, so pulling this all together,
Yeah, if we connect this to the bigger picture, gluttony really isn't just some personal failing, is it? It's often a symptom of deeper emotional or spiritual needs going unmet. And it's definitely exacerbated by a culture of endless consumption that's always telling us we're not enough, we need more.
so what does this all mean for you, our listener, as you go about your week? It's really about recognizing that every small choice, every little habit, it accumulates into a pattern over time. Just because society seems to normalize overconsumption doesn't mean it's spiritually beneficial or truly good for us in the long run.
Right. And this raises, I think, an important question for you to ponder. In a world that is constantly, relentlessly telling you to desire and consume more, how can you intentionally cultivate contentment? How can you truly honor what you've already been given, finding satisfaction in God's provision rather than chasing that endless craving?
It comes back to that verse, doesn't it? As our sources remind us, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. Gluttony, in whatever form it takes, it dulls our sensitivity to God's provision precisely because it inflames our cravings. The solution isn't about starvation or total denial, but submission. Submission to a higher purpose. Moderation isn't just a diet plan. It's truly a spiritual act.